All right, here we are. This is How to Disappear Completely. I'm Dixon from 95X. You can't see me because I'm standing behind the camera. And this is the test run. This is the very first video blog we're doing for locals only on 95X. It's brought to you by the Joe Stanley Law Firm and Music for the Mission. Now, How to Disappear Completely. Let's see, from your left to right is TJ, Devin, and Jay. You've been hearing the song on the air for about a month now. It's called Closer to Me. It's gotten the best response of any tune that I've played on Locals Only in the 10 weeks that we've done the show. I play it constantly for myself, and frankly, it's one of the best things I've heard, and I noticed that I didn't use the word local in there. It's not the fact that it's not the best local thing I've heard in a long time. This is flat out the best thing I've heard in a really long time. So let's get into it with these guys. You can learn a little bit more about How to Disappear Completely, where you can find them, where you can see them, and we'll get some insight as to what it is that these guys are up to. How you guys doing?
Good. Awesome. Very good.
Excellent. Now, if people want to find you, they can find you at ReverbNation.com/How to Disappear Completely. Mm-hmm. Now, how much music do you have up on Reverb Nation for these people to check out? Because I know that I have Closer, which is fantastic, and I got a new version of it today, which is awesome. We're going to debut it tonight on the show. Got it ripped in, ready to go. Brand new, clean, beautiful version of the song. And then I got a new song today, which we're going to debut next week. Right. At current count, I've played it 21 times since Devin dropped it off for me around 3 o'clock this afternoon. Played it for Joe D, who absolutely loved it. Played it for Big Smoothie. He absolutely loved it. So let's delve into it, guys. I got to know. Like, now, I know all you guys because we've all been part of the music scene for a really, really long time, but everybody out here does not. So let's start with this. Where have you guys been musically? What bands do you guys come from? So these guys might get an idea of who exactly you guys are and where you're coming from.
Jay, we've been in Architect for the past 7 years or so. Before that, we were in this band called Word is a Virus, which was a
kind of big locally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Rest in peace, Sean.
Yes. Yep. And after that, after Word is a Virus, me and Jay kind of formed Architect with some older friends of mine. My singer from Found It Hanging from back even longer than that, and that's what me and Jay were doing for a long time. And How to Disappear Completely kind of formed out of that as stuff we couldn't do with Architect and past bands that we were in because it wasn't the type of music. We both had songs. Some I wrote 6-7 years ago. Some Jay wrote when he was a teenager. So it kind of worked, and that's kind of where we are now. I was in a band with Devin here. It was called Cowards. It was angry sludge doom metal band, and that's me and Devin's past. And we got him in to How to Disappear Completely because, well, both these guys are the two people that I would want to be in a band with, no matter what band it is. So.
That's pretty much what we did. We just the guys we wanted to be with most, the guys that we could stand the most.
What always feels better when you make music with your friends because there's that kinship, there's that connection.
Well, that's how I met them was with my old band in Broglio. We were recording and producing with them, and that we after our last tour we kind of just parted ways, and I kind of was just doing Cowards, and then that kind of split up. So we just they asked me to do this with them. So.
I'm glad you guys got together, frankly.
So we.
Now here's a question, and this actually comes from a listener. A listener wants to know if you took the name from the Radiohead song.
Yes. Yes.
So that was easy. There's no beating around the bush with that one.
Absolutely not. No.
So now, do you guys cite Radiohead as an influence?
Yeah, I mean, influence.
Because I hear it, man.
Well, yeah, it's in there. I mean, yeah,
and it's not necessarily from me in the music. Yeah. Where I hear it is in the soundscape, the background stuff.
More the Kid A record, I think. If anything, I mean, where the title actually came from. I think when that record came out, it blew the doors off everything, and especially for me. I'd never heard anything like that. And then hearing the song "How to Disappear Completely," that's still one of my favorite songs. It just has that sound. It stands out on that record. It's this song that you sit there and you go, when after it ends, for a minute you just kind of want to sit there, okay, everything is very sensitive right now, and it just kind of stuck with me. And I remember, I had that the first week I had that record. I was like, that would make an awesome band name.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I just, we got this together. I said to TJ, it's like, we're either calling this band How to Disappear Completely or I'm quitting.
It's always good to have an ultimatum right off the bat.
Yes, you know, just sat at home, you know.
Now, here's the thing. If Radiohead isn't an influence, and a lot of the people that listen to 95X are not familiar with the scene that we come from, and we're not saying that in a condescending manner.
Right.
It's just we all grew up in a very underground scene when it was still underground, because a lot of that underground stuff is now part of the mainstream. So, like, to give the people watching this right now an idea of maybe some older music that turned you guys on to what you're currently doing, why don't you cite some influences, let people know what they might be able to go back, download, check out if they're into what they're hearing from you and don't necessarily have a starting point to know where it comes from.
A lot of older, well, for this, a lot of older rock bands, like Sunny Day Real Estate is a, you know, definitely a huge, you know, huge one for me and TJ. I don't know about that, but no, okay.
Brand New.
Hum, definitely. Hum.
There's a lot of hum in there,
Hell
man.
yeah.
I mean, hum definitely.
There's a lot of hum in there, yeah. You know, it's...
You know, a lot of older rock bands, especially for me, like Mineral, and Braid, and Grade also. Stuff like that, and then darker things like Ink and Dagger is always
Thursday. Things
really
like
good.
that.
But Thursday, yeah. Newer bands like Thursday and Brand New would be a good starting point if anybody doesn't know the older bands that we're talking
We've always been like big fans of bands with really strong melody, you know. That's, I mean, you know, we come from a hardcore background, but, you know, before we were even into, like, hardcore and things like that, it was just, you know, really good melody bands, like, you know, Alice in Chains, things like that, you know, just good songwriting. You know,
Absolutely.
Really good songwriting, and that, you know, I don't know, it just never really went away, you know.
Now, here's the one comparison that I get endlessly, which I'm sure you guys have heard. You want to take a wild guess?
Deftones.
Correct. And here's the thing, man. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, I don't either. It's
because
not.
here's the thing. Like, you guys have... You can tell that you're fans.
Absolutely.
But it's not like you guys emulating what the Deftones do. Because a lot of bands try and emulate the Deftones, and it comes off like this, for lack of a better term, like crappy rap rock.
Yeah, right.
And it ends up emulating like the Adrenaline record,
right.
When, frankly, I just want to hear people
Done poorly.
do... Yeah.
Copied a bunch of times on a photocopier.
Absolutely.
about. That's because people, like, they hear sounds, but they don't know. It's like they hear the notes being played and they hear the sounds happening, but they don't know why those sounds are happening.
Or even how to replicate them, you know, or make them their own.
And the Deftones are more or less ingrained in our DNA. So even if we wanted to not sound like the Deftones, it would probably most likely come out sounding.
I mean, there's parts of Architect Records that, you know, people were like, I know it's heavy, but it still sounds like the Deftones to me. And I'm like,
Absolutely.
damn it, you know, like. I don't know, I kind of, that's how I learned how to play guitar, is, you know, listening to Deftones and things like that. So, you know, like, I don't know, anything I write sort of has that sort of vibe to it, you know.
A lot of it for me, too, is the tones.
Yeah, right, yeah.
You know, that dark...
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is relatively dark.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, for a lot of people that probably don't know, Jay's actually the singer in this band. Like, I know there are some of you that have seen Architect and Found Unhanging and seen this guy throw his guitar and his body around endlessly, but this is the sweet melodic voice that you hear on that song. So tell me now, man, for real, like, how different is this for you? I know you guys haven't played a show live yet. I know you did an acoustic thing the other night that I heard was fantastic, and I couldn't make it out because I was here on the air. But by the same token, what intrigues me a lot about this is to see how you're going to be as a frontman.
Yeah, it's different, you know. It's not, I don't know, I have to kind of, it's kind of like stepping on stage without your clothes on, you know. that's kind of how I put it. You know, singing in hardcore bands or playing guitar in hardcore bands or heavier bands like that, it's definitely if I start to feel nervous or anxious, I just get to flail around a lot and be pissed off, you know. Like, but it's like I'm kind of, you know, putting myself right out front and being emotional and, you know, and being sensitive and being okay with that. And so there's definitely gonna be a learning curve, you know. I'm sure live it'll be completely different, but I don't know. It's just time, I think. You know, this time of my life, I always kind of put off the singing and playing guitar at the same time kind of thing, you know. So doesn't it figure that this is the one that actually, you know, rings with people?
Yeah.
That's a little karma right there.
Well, at the risk of, you know, I'm going to say no homo ahead of this, but at the risk of this, like, there's a vulnerability to what you're doing vocally and lyrically that for me, I mean, I know you, you know what I mean? Like, I know that this is, but I think for a lot of people, this is going to be just the interview, knowing that now this is Jay Bailey singing in this band. It's going to be a different thing.
Yeah. A lot of people that have heard it, you know, things like that, I'll get phone calls like, is that really you? Yes, it's really me, you know. Can we not talk about it? You know, I don't know. I've always been really shy, you know, and kind of in the background, you know, and it's too late, you know. I mean, I'm getting older, you know. I'm getting used to this. I'm getting used to being a musician and actually having people want to talk about my music and things like that. And it's just got to do it. You know, it's time. It was this, you know, this project came up, and it was, you know, I've always been a singer. I come from a long line of singers. You know, my family's very musical, things like that. So I've always been able to sing. You know, it's just whether people knew that or not. You know, that's another thing. It's never really been a.
They know now.
They know now.
And they will know in the
It goes
future.
in hand, like our ethic lately, though, it's been like, if anything makes us uncomfortable, or a little nervous, or a little
afraid,
scared,
yeah.
we know that's what we have to do. Like that's what stops people.
Now,
It's
actually,
being scared.
while we're on this subject, I want you to retell the story you told me in the parking lot of the Lost the other night.
Oh boy.
The MacBook and everything else.
Let's get this.
Oh yeah.
This is ridiculous. And for those of you out there that believe in fate like I do, this is proof positive.
Well,
This whole band's proof positive of that.
yeah, I mean, I had been working with Jay and TJ, like I said, with my old band in Brookville and stuff, and we've been wanting to, you know, work. We've been hanging out all the time, and they're doing the studio. I've been learning engineering from him, so we're getting together all the time, and we're always picking gear apart and fixing it and stuff, and some way we're always intertwined. And you know, my band decided to up and move back home to Ohio, and I'm kind of left here high and dry. I wanted to play music, and I had just had falling out with people, girlfriends, whatever. I was crashing at a friend's house, kind of really down and out in between jobs, like almost living out of my van, whatnot, and didn't have a band. And I'm with Jay, and my friend sits down next to me that I'm staying with, and he had just got this like MIDI keyboard or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I have no idea what that is. And I got an email. I answered my phone, got an email from Jay, and he's literally like, hey, kind of random, but you're playing keyboard in my new band. I know you don't know how to play it, but it's going to happen. I looked at my friend next to me, and I was like, so you want to sell that? And he's like, well, yeah. And it's like, all right, I'll give you like $50 right now. And I gave him money for it, and I did not know what I had in my hand at all. I didn't think I had a USB cord and a printer cable. I don't know. But, so I started messing around in my room with it and whatnot, and then we started figuring out that I can like plug guitar or violin in it, whatever. And so you know, we get that, and I'm like, man, I need some new speakers. I can't play it on my bass gear. I've been a bass player, and it's like, oh, I got speakers for under $150, whatever. I'll get them. Sure enough,
Gorham Brothers Music, where you got the speakers.
Gorham Brothers.
It's actually engineers, old shirt vocal
Band
mixer.
engineer, yeah.
And $149.99 they were. So we figure out how to take 2 trips and load them in my Taurus. And after we load the last one, we start going to Jay's house, and I was like, man, all I need is a MacBook now because my computer sucks. And we get to his apartment, and our friend gets a hold of us and tells me he had just acquired one
He wants to
and wants
sell
to sell it. Literally, we just got home. And then he was helping me move out of the house from that point, and ended up being his old childhood house. So he was going to help me move some stuff from that house that I was at a real dark place in.
Yeah,
place
and I was
sucked.
also in a dark place when I fucking lived there.
Yeah, and that place like
No, it's alright. It's not on the radio, man.
Okay, good.
I'll say, fuck. There we go.
Good, all right.
yeah, like I was losing my mind in that place, and the only thing keeping me sane was sitting. Like I would get out of work, lock myself in the room with my dog, and start teaching myself that keyboard. And I was like, man, this place is really dragging me down. And he helped me move the last of my stuff out of there, and he was like, dude, this is my old house, man. Like
Dark
creepy.
times.
Like
There's been
fate all around.
There's been other stuff, things we won't even get into with this band where, you know,
It's weird.
it's just something comes up and we all look at each other and like, are you serious? You know, like things that just line into place for us and you're just like, are you? Am I going crazy or is that, you know, like that?
Creepy.
That doesn't happen all the time. There's a lot.
Sometimes shit aligns and it
really
works
does.
out, man.
It really does. Yeah.